In 2025, something extraordinary happened. A name you thought belonged exclusively to retro magazines, vintage poster collections, and glossed-over Hollywood legend exploded back into headlines. Everyone is suddenly talking about Farrah Fawcett again, and you won't believe why. Newspapers ran breathless features on her latest auction triumph, a series of her bronze sculptures selling for $500,000 apiece. Fashion bloggers published countdowns of the must-have modern Farrah flip, crediting her signature feathered hair for a 40% surge in salon bookings. Social media feeds lit up with side-by-side clips of young celebrities recreating her iconic style. But none of that buzz, none of those staggering figures or red carpet tributes, is the real reason her name is reverberating through every corner of pop culture right now. There's a deeper current, a revelation so powerful that it threatens to rewrite everything we thought we knew about the woman behind the halo of shining hair. Few public figures ever managed to transcend the era that made them famous. Farrah Fawcett did more than that. She became the face of an entire generation. Yet what we remember is only a fragment. The bright poster shot, a wide smile, endless tresses cascading like sunlit waves. It's easy to picture the surface, the glamorous gloss. But behind the smiles and splashy headlines lay battles nobody saw, struggles nobody dared to mention, and truths that almost drowned her luminous star. Farrah Fawcett came into the world as Mary Farrah Lenny Fawcett on February 2, 1947, in Corpus Christi, Texas. Her family lived simply. Her mother, Pauline Alice, carried Cherokee roots and taught Farrah the value of quiet strength. Her father, Kent Martin Fawcett, worked on oil rigs and instilled relentless discipline. Money was tight. Life was structured around Catholic school bells and small-town routines. And yet, from the beginning, Farrah carried a spark that refused to wait for permission. At age 5, she was already winning local art contests, molding clay and sketching faces with a precision that hinted at something beyond childhood play. Those early triumphs were more than trophies. They were whispers of a destiny she would soon chase across the country. When Farrah enrolled at St. Patrick's Roman Catholic School, she met rules that felt confining, but they built something else inside of her, a focus so steady it would later define her work ethic. At W.B. Ray High School, she balanced that discipline with something almost electric. For 4 years running, her classmates voted her most beautiful, a distinction that usually comes once in a lifetime. Yet for Farrah, it was unanimous and unbroken, a quiet affirmation that her presence radiated far beyond physical appearance. Teachers noticed her unwavering gaze during exams, her dedication in class projects, and the graceful composure she carried on stage during art exhibitions. In 1965, Farrah received a beauty scholarship to the University of Texas at Austin. She arrived on campus with dreams of microbiology, textbooks in hand, determined to follow a path grounded in science and stability. She moved into Mayfair House on Pearl Street, pledged Delta 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 sorority, and tried blending into the academic rhythm. But life, as it so often does, had a different script for her. Her photographs began appearing in campus publications. Soon she was named one of the 10 most beautiful co-eds in Texas. It felt like a badge of honor and a flicker of a much larger spotlight. In 1967, at the age of 18, she made a choice that astonished her small-town circle. She left the university, her biology books, and a promising scholarship behind to chase an uncertain acting career in Los Angeles. Farrah had no safety net, no season manager, no Hollywood connections, just a fierce determination and a suitcase full of dreams. The early days were brutal. Casting rooms met her with rejection after rejection. Work was scarce. She scrubbed hair as a shampoo girl, did print ads for pocket change, slept on friends' couches, and lived on stale donuts and the fierce hope that tomorrow would bring a breakthrough. Then came 1969's inflection point, a nude shoot for Esquire magazine. When images of her appeared across newsstands, the reaction was seismic. Some industry insiders whispered that she had committed career suicide. Others predicted she'd never be taken seriously as an actress. But the world watched and bought. That audacious decision thrust Farrah into an entirely new orbit of visibility. The clamoring curiosity cleared a path to minor film roles and, more crucially, planted the seed for what would become the best-selling poster in American history. 2 years later, in 1971, the red swimsuit poster sealed her legend. Over 12 million copies sold in the first year alone, transforming her from a promising newcomer into an icon of the era. People plastered her image on bedroom walls, tucked the poster into lockers, and celebrated her effortless charisma. It was a cultural phenomenon so pervasive that the term Fawcett fever entered common parlance. Yet behind that sheen of triumph, Farrah felt complicated emotions. She reveled in the adoration but bristled at being reduced to a single image. She longed for roles that would prove her depth, yet every casting director seemed intent on fixing her image to that red swimsuit and cascading hair, Hollywood's conveyor belt of objectification pressed in relentlessly. Lines were rewritten to highlight her physical allure instead of her talent. Offers poured in, Playboy spreads, glamorous photo essays, parts that required more lip gloss than dialogue. Farrah said no to most. She refused to become a prop. Each rebuff cost her opportunities, but it also cemented something else: her reputation as a star who would not surrender her identity for fame. That unwavering stance rattled executives and enraged agents, but it lit a fire beneath her. She wanted to be seen as an artist, an actress, a woman of substance. And so began a 2-decade odyssey winding through television series, blockbuster films, critical flops, and Emmy-nominated triumphs. At every twist, sometimes triumphant, often painful, Farrah fought to reclaim her narrative. She battled sexism, contractual disputes, typecasting, and personal heartbreak. She faced a lawsuit threatening to blacklist her. She walked away from a $7 million contract on Charlie's Angels, refusing to be underpaid or undervalued. She slowed down acting when her stunt double's catastrophic accident underscored the costs of celebrity stunts. She risked public scorn by posing for controversial roles, flipping the industry's assumptions about her limits. This journey wasn't solitary. It was punctuated by relationships that shone like marquee lights: marriage to Lee Majors, a stormy romance with Ryan O'Neal, a hidden bond with lifelong friend Greg. Each love story brought its own intensity: headlines, soul-wrenching betrayals, legal battles, and unexpected sacrifices. Private struggles with addiction, financial turmoil, and health crises wove their way into the public gaze. Farrah's final chapter, marked by her courageous battle with cancer, became one of her most potent statements, an unflinching portrait of vulnerability and resilience that millions witnessed in her Chasing Farrah documentary. By the time she passed away in June 2009, Farrah Fawcett had already achieved something few stars ever accomplish. She had outgrown her poster persona and stood firmly as an artist, philanthropist, and cultural trailblazer. Her legacy deepened through the foundation she established for cancer research, which has raised over $10 million and funded more than 100 groundbreaking studies. Her stylistic imprint resurfaced in the 2000 and 2019 Charlie's Angels reboots. Hair salons still cite her flip as the gold standard. Art galleries debate her sculpture work alongside modern masters. And in 2025, everything converged into a fresh tidal wave of reverence, proof that her story, her spirit, and her battles continue to resonate across generations. But none of the superficial buzz captures the true catalyst behind this tidal wave of renewed interest in Farrah's life. In late 2025, a memoir surfaced that sent shockwaves through Hollywood circles, a tell-all penned by her closest friend and confidant, Alana Schur. For decades, Schur had guarded secrets about Farrah's personal battles and industry scandals. Now, guided by raw emotion and unwavering loyalty, she lifted the veil, revealing revelations so explosive that trades and tabloids alike scrambled to confirm every damning detail. The memoir's first bombshell recounts an episode from the late 1970s, when Farrah was at the pinnacle of Charlie's Angels fame. Schur describes a studio executive's clandestine attempt to pressure Farrah into a compromising scene, one she instinctively rejected. That refusal led to whispered threats, casting couch innuendos, and an under-the-table deal to smooth things over. Farrah confronted the man, lawyers were hired, and a hush-money settlement was reached. It was the type of scandal that could have buried a lesser star, but she emerged stronger, her resolve hardened by the experience. Next came accounts of on-set injuries, previously unreported. Sure details how Farrah's stunt double, Heidi Von Beltz, suffered a catastrophic accident during the filming of the Cannonball Run. The car's malfunctioning door latch wasn't fixed, and Von Beltz was left paralyzed. Farrah, shaken to her core, halted production and refused to continue any physical stunts until safety protocols were rewritten. Production companies, fearing delays and budget overruns, threatened legal action. Farrah stood firm, ultimately forcing studios to adopt new industry-wide safety standards, a lasting legacy few realize originated with her. Perhaps most haunting are Schur's insights into Farrah's final years, hidden behind the scenes of glossy interviews and carefully curated photo ops. In a chapter titled The Invisible Fight, Schur recounts the day Farrah chose to document her cancer journey on camera. She insisted on a frank portrayal of radiation treatments, hair loss, and emotional vulnerability, not for ratings, but for transparency. That pushback against standard celebrity sanitization led to the Emmy-nominated documentary, Chasing Farrah. Only a handful of viewers have seen the uncut footage, which Schur says includes moments so raw they were deemed too emotional even for premium cable. Then there's the revelation about experimental stem cell treatments Farrah underwent in Frankfurt. Schur writes that the procedures were not only painful but also controversial, as they skirted U.S. regulations. Farrah believed deeply in exploring every avenue for a cure, even if it meant navigating linguistic barriers, foreign consent forms, and uncharted medical risks. The clinic's walls, Schur explains, witnessed scenes of quiet despair. Images of Farrah in a hospital gown, wires attached, face strained with pain. Yet her determination never wavered. She chose to fight beyond conventional protocols, setting a precedent for patients seeking second opinions abroad. Interspersed throughout the memoir are letters sent to her lawyers, transcripts of clandestine phone calls with studio heads, and pages torn from her personal journals during those final months. Schur admits she hesitated to publish some entries, accounts of intimate reflections and fleeting moments of fear, but ultimately concluded that the world deserved the unvarnished truth. She believed that Farrah's authenticity, courage, and willingness to confront the darkest chapters of her life offered hope to anyone grappling with adversity. As news of these disclosures spread, social media erupted. TikTok creators dissected each scandalous anecdote. Fashion historians re-examined Farrah's influence on style and empowerment, and podcasts devoted entire episodes to analyzing the legal implications of her battles. The hashtag Fawcett Truth trended globally for days, with fans and critics dueling online over her legacy. Farrah's official estate, initially hesitant about the memoir, soon recognized its potential to re-energize her philanthropic mission. Within weeks, the Farrah Fawcett Foundation announced a new grant cycle dedicated to stem cell research, aligning with her vision of pioneering alternative therapies. Concurrently, hair salon owners reported near-record bookings for modernized Farrah flips. Instagram influencers filmed tutorials recreating the feathered layers with a contemporary twist. Think softer bangs, textured waves, eco-friendly styling products. Celebrities from street-style phenomenon Zendaya to rising pop star Chloe Bailey posted side-by-side throwbacks, igniting fresh curiosity among Gen Z. Suddenly, Farrah's look was more than nostalgia. It became a symbol of fearless reinvention. Stylists credited her memoir revelations as the spark that transformed a simple haircut into a powerful statement. Editorial pages in Vanity Fair and The Hollywood Reporter weighed in, debating whether Farrah's career had truly been defined by her famous hair, or if that was merely a reductive narrative that overshadowed her other talents. Architectural Digest revisited her Malibu ranch, now designated a historical landmark, marveling at how her sculpture studio, complete with skylights and custom-made bronze kills, reflected the woman beyond the poster. Art collectors jostled for invitations to upcoming exhibitions of her rarely seen bronze works. Christie's announced a dedicated Fawcett sculpture auction slated for early 2026. But even as the world consumed every new detail, a persistent question lingered. Did Farrah intend for these revelations to surface? Schur insists in interviews that Farrah had been preparing for this moment, drafting a more comprehensive autobiography before her passing. She shared outlines and early drafts with Schur, indicating a desire to reclaim her full story from tabloid half-truths. The estate's initial reluctance gave way to cautious approval once they recognized the cultural importance of honoring Farrah's own voice. Warts and all, the resulting storm of publicity demonstrated a powerful psychological trigger at play. We crave authenticity. In an era of polished celebrity PR and manufactured transparency, Farrah Fawcett's revelations cut through the noise because they felt genuine. Every scandalous hook, Hollywood betrayal, near-fatal accidents, medical defiance, was tied to a human being who refused to surrender her agency. Audiences felt FOMO not just for the gossip, but for a deeper connection to her resilience. This awakening is more than a fleeting cultural moment. It speaks to a broader shift in how we engage with icons of the past. We no longer accept sanitized notebooks, glossy retrospectives, or surface-level nostalgia. We want the whole picture, the triumphs, the scars, the messy truths that shape a person's character. Farrah's resurgence reminds us that authenticity can outlive even the brightest meteoric rise. And as the world grapples with her unedited narrative, one thing is clear. Farrah Fawcett's story still has chapters left to write, for her admirers, for her critics, and for anyone seeking inspiration in the face of adversity. But the real impact of Farrah's resurgence isn't confined to headlines or buzz. It's reshaping how we remember her as an artist and humanitarian. Beyond the flicker of camera flashes and salon reels lies a woman whose creativity pulsed through every medium she touched. As the memoir revelations fueled curiosity, collectors turned their attention to her bronze sculptures, pieces that had long been tucked away in private studios and forgotten archives. Suddenly, galleries clamored to exhibit a fuller portrait of Farrah, one that went beyond the poster girl image and celebrated her as a dedicated sculptor who poured decades of precision and passion into shaping metal into form. Exhibition halls across Los Angeles, New York, and London dedicated wings to Farrah Reimagined, showcasing not only the famous feathered flip, but also her lesser-seen works. Muscular male torsos, intricate female busts, even abstract abstractions that hinted at her internal struggles. Critics compared her chiseling technique to Rodin's, praising the tension between vulnerability and strength embedded in the bronze. Overnight, her sculptures sold for eye-watering sums, some fetching $500,000 apiece at specialty auctions. Art magazines ran features on how Farrah's Texas roots and Hollywood battles had informed her artistic vision, uniting two worlds few recognized she inhabited. Meanwhile, the Farrah Fawcett Foundation leveraged this renewed profile to launch its boldest initiative yet, the Global Stem Cell Research Fund. Drawing on her own controversial treatments in Frankfurt, the foundation partnered with leading international clinics to finance trials that had previously lacked visibility or support. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, they raised over $15 million, nearly doubling last year's total. Grants flowed to projects exploring novel therapies for cancers that resist conventional chemo, echoing Farrah's lifelong belief that innovation often lies beyond the beaten path. Scientific journals published findings citing foundation funding, elevating her legacy from celebrity philanthropy to a pioneer's role in medical advancement. Testimonies poured in from patients and researchers alike. Doctors credited her foundation with accelerating studies that had languished for lack of resources. Families of children with rare tumors thanked Farrah's name for offering hope when standard care faltered. Social media campaigns featured hashtags like #FawcettHeals and #ArtForCures alongside glossy photos of her sculptures and candid snapshots from Chasing Farrah. For many, the merger of her art and health advocacy created a narrative where creativity and compassion coalesced, a testament to the holistic force she could unleash. This revival also rippled through modern activism. Survivors of industry abuse embraced Farrah's story of standing firm against covert harassment on studio lots decades earlier. Within the #MeToo movement, threads connected Scher's memoir accounts of casting couch threats to contemporary calls for transparency and accountability. Panel discussions at film festivals now included sessions titled Farrah's Stand, Our Future, where producers, agents, and actors dissected how one woman's refusal to be silenced paved the way for collective empowerment. News outlets hailed her as a #MeToo icon, weaving her narrative of quiet rebellion into broader conversations about consent and creative agency. That on the style front, the ripples reached every corner of pop culture. Beauty blogs dissected the evolution of the flip, showing side-by-side timelines from original 1976 hair commercials to today's softer, layered reinterpretations. Top fashion designers unveiled runway collections inspired by Farrah's signature silhouette, flowing halter tops, feathered accessories, sun-kissed palettes, tipping their hats not only to her aesthetic but to the resilience embedded in her story. Streaming platforms greenlit documentaries and docu-series pitched as untold chapters of her life, boasting behind-the-scenes interviews with surviving Angels cast members and rare footage from her sculpture studio. In Hollywood, speculation swirled that a new biopic was finally greenlit, with script drafts promising to weave together her art, advocacy, and acting triumphs in a single narrative. Early buzz suggested a major actress had committed to the role, drawn by the complexity of depicting Farrah's multifaceted journey, from small-town art prodigy to international icon battling systemic prejudice and personal adversity. Studios jockeyed for rights, insiders whispered about bidding wars, and fans launched online campaigns voting for their dream casting. The contest itself became a testament to her enduring appeal, decades after her first screen appearance. Yet amid all this, a tantalizing rumor persisted that sure held sealed chapters of Farrah's autobiography, including revelations that even the memoir couldn't touch. Draft outlines leaked claimed she'd addressed family estrangements, unrecorded sculptural experiments, and late-night standoffs with industry titans, stories so personal that estate lawyers feared legal entanglements if published. Whispers circulated that Sure had negotiated a separate project for an Ultimate Truth edition, set to release in 2027. The potential for new disclosures ignited another wave of FOMO. Audiences craved every additional piece of the puzzle as this renaissance unfolds. One theme crystallizes. Farrah Fawcett's legacy defies simple categorization. She was never just the woman in the red swimsuit. She was an artist who fought for creative integrity, an icon who challenged power structures, and a human being whose candor in facing mortality taught millions about the power of vulnerability. In a landscape that often demands neat brands and sanitized personas, her resurgence reminds us that the most compelling stories are messy, raw, and unapologetically complete. But beyond museum walls and salon chairs, Farrah Fawcett's resurgence has also rippled through modern activism, re-energizing conversations about power dynamics on studio lots and reminding survivors of industry harassment that they are not alone. Sure's memoir revelations of casting couch coercion and hush money settlements have been woven into #MeToo roundtables, with activists citing Farrah's quiet defiance as a #MeToo benchmark. Film festival forums titled Angels Standing Together rallied emerging artists to share their own stories of exploitation and resistance. On social platforms, survivors post side-by-side quotes from Sure's account and testimonials of their own ordeals under #FarrahWasRight. Human rights organizations now reference Fawcett's story in workshops on consent and contract literacy, using her epiphany, refusing a compromising scene, as a powerful example of reclaiming agency in the face of institutional pressure. This raw legacy has inspired a new generation to challenge systemic injustice inside and outside the entertainment world. Simultaneously, streaming services have seized on the momentum to greenlight content that delves deeper into Farrah's multifaceted journey. Docu-series titled Beyond the Flip planned full seasons tracing her artistic rebirth through sculpting, while podcast networks are dropping limited runs featuring exclusive interviews with Sure, Greg, and surviving cast members of Charlie's Angels. One forthcoming documentary is said to include uncut footage of Chasing Farrah sessions, showing her wry humor during chemotherapy and her painstaking process of chiseling bronze. These productions emphasize intimate storytelling, unfiltered reflections, archival letters, and candid testimonies, tapping into viewer appetites for authentic narratives. Critics argue this surge could oversaturate Farrah's story, but producers counter that each new angle unearths a different truth, ensuring that her legacy continues to evolve rather than stagnate in nostalgic repetition. Meanwhile, Hollywood insiders are abuzz with reports that a definitive Farrah biopic is finally moving forward. Early drafts promise a script that interlaces her trials for creative control, her groundbreaking Emmy nomination for The Burning Bed, and the secret letters Schur discovered outlining Farrah's proposed autobiography. Several A-list actors have publicly declared their desire to step into her breezy, yet steely shoes, sparking a fan-driven campaign to cast up-and-coming talent to reflect her youthful grit. Estate lawyers are reportedly negotiating rights for Schur's sealed chapters, rumored to reveal personal rifts, clandestine sculptures never shown to the world, and final thoughts pinned on the eve of her German treatment. The mere prospect of new revelations has reignited the frenzied FOMO that accompanied Schur's memoir, as audiences eagerly await the next cascade of buried truths to be illuminated on the big screen. And on the fashion front, designers and sustainability advocates have coalesced around Farrah's evolving style ethos. Runway collections now marry her feathered silhouette with eco-friendly materials, offering biodegradable hairpieces and cruelty-free styling kits that nod to her original flip without endangering scalp health. Beauty academies incorporate Farrah's experimental approach, layering soft, sun-kissed waves with modern thermoprotective products into their curricula, highlighting her as a case study in adaptive artistry. Streetwear brands riff on her halter-top archetype with streetwise twists, cropped cardigans embroidered with sculpted motifs, recycled denim designed to mimic the drape of her signature tresses. Each drop is accompanied by social campaigns under #FawcettForward, spotlighting the relationship between self-expression and environmental stewardship, a pairing Farrah herself might have championed given her lifelong distaste for superficiality and blind conformity. At the same time, oncology clinics and patient advocacy groups have embraced Farrah's documented medical crusade as a rallying cry for holistic care. Farrah's Way programs highlight integrative treatment models combining standard oncology protocols with supportive arts therapy, inspired by the way she channeled pain into sculptural creation. Hospitals host viewings of her documentary for patients undergoing similar treatments, fostering solidarity through shared experience. Cancer fundraisers cite her stem cell initiative as a turning point for patient-driven research funding, and magazines run retrospectives on her hospital ward courage, sharing excerpts of Schur's accounts that reveal Farrah's resolve in the face of unbearable grief. In waiting rooms, her quote, "My strength is not in my hair, but in my heart," is displayed as a reminder that resilience often springs from unexpected places. Academia has even weighed in, with university courses analyzing Farrah Fawcett's life as a microcosm of 20th-century American culture. Gender studies seminars explore her metamorphosis from poster girl to outspoken advocate, while fine art programs dissect her bronze work as a literal recasting of her own image in metal, a metaphor for forging identity under fire. Film schools assign case studies on her legal battles for profit shares, tracing how those early standoffs helped shape modern entertainment contracts. Business ethics classes debate her philanthropic pivot, examining how her foundation's decision to underwrite experimental research challenged traditional grant-making. These scholarly pursuits underscore that Farrah's legacy extends beyond entertainment. She has become a lens through which we examine power, creativity, and morality in an ever-shifting cultural landscape. Taken together, these developments illustrate the extraordinary scope of Farrah's living legacy. From museum walls to hospital wards, from fashion runways to courtroom corners, from grassroots activism to academic inquiry, her story informs every facet of our cultural conversation. Her mercurial journey reminds us that icons aren't static. They morph, provoke, and inspire across generations, leaving echoes that resonate long after their first spotlight fades. In every reflection, every shadow, Farrah's legacy lies not just in the shimmering hair flips or the shockwaves caused by memoirs, but in the alchemy she mastered between art, activism, and authenticity. Her story resonates because it reminds us that no matter how bright the spotlight, humanity remains tethered to vulnerability, courage, and the relentless pursuit of truth. She bridged childhood clay studios and Hollywood soundstages, transforming both into crucibles of creative rebellion. She chiseled bronze with the same determination he displayed during courtroom battles for her rights, forging a narrative of self-determination that reverberates across decades. At once a vulnerable patient under radiation lights and a defiant pioneer challenging powerful men, Farrah inhabited paradoxes few dared to embrace. Her life's alchemy continues to challenge us to value substance over spectacle. By reigniting these conversations in 2025, the world proved itself hungry for nuance. We're tired of canned narratives and yearn for stories that acknowledge complexity and contradiction. Farrah's revival across social feeds, streaming lineups, and charity galas underscores a singular truth. A star's radiance only deepens when we witness her scars. From Tulsa hair salons staging flip nights to Berlin art houses curating Fawcett retrospectives, crowds gather because they recognize a piece of themselves in every sculpted curve and candid confession. We crave that intimacy. We crave evidence that even icons grappled with fear and fought to reclaim their agency, emerging not unscathed, but irrevocably whole. We see this in TikTok creators deconstructing each memoir excerpt, in podcasters queuing up at dawn for exclusive interviews, and in glowing think pieces about the intersection between celebrity and genuine storytelling. We're not just consuming a narrative. We're participating in its unraveling, driven by a collective yearning for meaning beyond the superficial. The ripple effects coursing through politics, medicine, spectacle, and scholarship are profound. Legislators cite Fawcett's contract battles when drafting new entertainment regulations. Medical boards reference her stem cell funding as a case study in patient-led research. Universities assign her life as an elective on resilience, and design houses lean on her blueprint to challenge beauty orthodoxies. I saw a documentary festival host describe her quote, "My strength is in my heart," as a rallying cry for mental health awareness. Scientific journals published profiles on how one star's personal crusade propelled institutional shifts, and Global Fund drives now market her as a paragon of patient-led advocacy. In every domain she touched, Farrah sowed seeds that bore fruit long after the cameras dimmed. Amid this resurgent mirage, the true magic lies in our own reflection, seeing in Farrah the tenacity that lives within each of us. Her arc from a Texas art prodigy to an international sensation battling Hollywood's titans mirrors our personal struggles against systems that value image over substance. She reminds us that art and activism need not reside in separate silos. They can entwine to form movements that reshape industries. She showed us that self-expression can heal communities, whether through sculpted bronze or bold transparency about illness. She blurred boundaries between personal pain and public performance, inviting us to critique the systems that commodify our vulnerabilities. Farrah's resurgence is, at its core, a collective rediscovery. We're talking about her because we're also talking about ourselves. As the final chapter of this revival unfolds, sealed memoir chapters yet to be released, potential biopics wending their way through studio pipelines, upcoming auctions promising new sculptural masterpieces, we find ourselves on the brink of another cultural inflection. Every new revelation promises to reshape perceptions, from hidden love letters to unshown studio footage. Speculation abounds as fans swap theories about secret sculpture series buried in her Malibu ranch and private journals rumored to contain philosophical meditations on mortality. Each cliffhanger adds another layer to her mythos. But perhaps the most compelling twist is not what we'll learn about Farrah, but how we will use her story to fuel our own quests for truth and purpose. Will we let her legacy rest in glossy coffee table books? Or will we champion her ethos of fearless authenticity in our own lives? Imagine a landscape where art students etch their own truths in clay, where activists cite a Hollywood icon's resistance as proof that change begins with integrity, where survivors draw strength from her candid journey through terminal illness, and where philanthropists follow her example to fund breakthroughs once deemed too radical. Farrah's flame may have flickered before, but in 2025 it roared back to life, an inferno illuminating the darkest corners of our collective history. Everyone is talking about Farrah Fawcett again, not because she's a footnote in pop culture, but because her narrative offers a blueprint for living with courage, compassion, and conviction. And that's a story worth passing forward, one flip and one sculpture at a time. And her legacy sparks courage in our own journey.